Peace, love, EETM Hotep. Assalamu alaikum and shalom. In this video, we're just going to go over a very important topic. Before I get into this information, again, a lot of people who have a lot to say about Black people, but they won't talk about these types of subjects. This is the importance of Black media, the importance of those who actually care about Black people. Okay, so reversing the rise in suicide rates amongst Black youth, right? It's a very important topic. So seeking hope and healing in a troubled time. So the rising suicide rates amongst Black youth signal a deep-seated crisis within our communities, one that demands urgent attention and action. This article delves into the complexities behind these troubling statistics, exploring underlying causes and highlighting effective strategies for intervention and support. By understanding the multifaceted nature of this issue, we can begin to reverse this distressing trend and pave the way towards healing and resilience. Understanding the crisis. The increase in suicide rates among Black youth is not just a statistical anomaly. It's a reflection of systemic issues, historical, social science, and relationship dynamics. Okay, here are a few statistics to keep in mind regarding the subject. So one of the more reputable statistical survey companies is Pew Research. In a recent survey, 22% of high school students reported having seriously contemplated suicide in the past year. I'm going to read that again. In a recent survey, 22%, so 2 out of 10 high school students reported having seriously contemplated suicide in the past year alone. Okay, and so in an increase from 16% in 2011, additionally, 18% of respondents had devised a suicide plan, while 10% had attempted suicide at least once, marking an uptick from 13% and 8% reported a decade ago, respectively. The rise in suicide risk since 2011 was noted across all demographic categories, including various races, ethnicities, and genders, although some groups were identified as being at higher risk than others. Okay, so this is a chart to help visualize this growing crisis, which was of course exacerbated by CV19, the crisis of 2020. And so we can see the increase there in the chart. And another nonprofit organization, the Association of American Medical Colleges, AAMC, highlighted the following: between 2018 and 2021, Black individuals aged 10 to 24 experienced the most significant rise in suicide rates, with a 37% increase. Okay, so again, we want to kind of marinate and think about the magnitude of this. Between 2018 and 2021, right? Black individuals aged 10 to 24 experienced the most significant rise in suicide rates, with a 37% increase. Okay. And I want you to visualize what I say as I speak it. So additionally, from 2000 to 2020, there was a dramatic 78% increase in suicide rates among Black youth aged 10 to 19. To help visualize the statistics, we created 2 different data sets. So here's the increase in suicide rates among youth 10 to 24. So you can see the increase from 2018 to 21, and that's in blue. And in light blue, we have the year 2000 to the year 2020. And we can see, the vast increase or excess amongst this racial group. So the rise in suicide rates among Black youth 10 to 19 years old, look at this. Just an exponential suicide rate increase. and that suicide rate is per 100,000. Those are happening at a very high, astonishing rate. Okay, so several factors contribute to this alarming trend, and one of those things, and this can be a 20-part series. There's so many details to this. These are just a few tidbits of information. I'm not a clinical psychologist. I'm more of a data science major right now. So at least that's the subset in computer science that I'm looking at to focus on. But systemic inequality, persistent racial disparities in healthcare access, and quality of healthcare access contribute to unaddressed mental health needs. Just for one visit, can be quite costly for a family owner. That basically, in Black people, when we look at ourselves as a group, which is how I speak about Black people, we basically have very little to no wealth. Okay, so stigma and silence, cultural stigmas around mental health within some Black communities can prevent young people from seeking help. And that source is from LCSW 2020. Now, we're on the website, so if you click on that number 4, it'll take you down to that source on the page. Trauma and stress. So exposure to racial discrimination and violence exacerbates mental health issues, leading to feelings of hopelessness and despair. And that's source number 5 there. Okay, and I'm going to touch upon this shortly. So systemic inequality. So what do you mean by systemic inequality? Of course, in all sectors of this society, Black people experience disparities: income, wealth, health, access to different services that other people don't get access to, and things of that nature, which is the power in unity and being able to get access to those things by relying upon other melanated people that have those skill sets. Stigma and silence. So again, there is a stigma about it. Oh, people will think I'm crazy, right? So if you have this issue you're dealing with and you tell someone about it, somehow, some way it spills across and other people begin to know about it, somehow somebody's going to always think something's wrong with me. And then, I'm going to feel as if I can't speak to anybody, or I'm going to be looked at as the crazy person. And nobody wants that stigma. So they kind of stay in that depressed state and not tell anybody anything, because they don't want to feel as if they're a friend or colleague or someone they know that they care about is going to look at them any different, right? Because that can be an issue too, where you have an issue and either that or the issue is just totally ignored. Like just feeling as if you're totally ignored can make a person depressed. Like in society today, some people don't really treat people very nice if they feel like they're not high status, or they feel like they're just some regular somebody, right? Where people are obsessed with social media and how many views and likes and how many clicks and dislikes I have and all of this nonsense, right? Right. And so that universe has been created around these youth that make people feel less than for just simply having what they have and not having the latest and greatest gizmo and gadget. Okay, so trauma and stress, right? So exposure to racial discrimination and violence exacerbates mental health issues. And there's story after story. If you do the research and just do some searches, I think I've done a little bit of reporting on some of the racist incidents, some write-ups I did in the past on my previous blog that spoke about the health issues, the threats in the schools, and the racism taking place amongst the youth these days, and how that can play a role in things in terms of the hate. And I want to give another example of this when we talk about systemic inequality, and just to kind of summarize all of my points in video format. This is the Comedic Minds on X page, and you can see, this young man was trying to sell something outside of Walmart and was basically assaulted. See, you see those words he said? I don't give a what. And why does he say that? Because as everything around him in his environment is keeping him down. And he's smart enough to know that at least if he sells something, he can kind of control whether or not he makes money or not. Right? And they're trying to stop that one way that he found that he can make money. I'll give another little story. It was Valentine's Day around 2007, 2008. I decided to sell some candies myself, on the street. And, I just walked through the mall with them, right? And I was, approached by the police in the mall for trying to sell those little candies. And I was doing pretty well selling them, but I had come up with an idea myself and to make some unique candies. And, I was treated like I was an animal, right? They didn't know whether I was selling them in the mall or not. They didn't know whether I was selling them, but had all this pressure for me. So I went on ahead, and just walked out of the mall. I was young, I was, just. But the point is that even when you look at a lot of malls these days, there's all these stipulations like you need to spend $600 for 3 days in order to sell something in the mall. It's just crazy stipulations to like eliminate competition. And yet we claim we care about the youth. We claim we're such a fair country, right? And we can, and people, I would say black people are the only people, the descendants of the slaves are the only people that can decide to criticize America and still love the people in America. Personally, that's how I am. I criticize things about America, but then I also love the people in America. I got a lot of love for the people in America, a regular person. So that's knowing the systemic push down. Again, if this young man didn't have the economic deprivation, the economic disparities that I've highlighted before, would he really have even been in that situation or even wanted to sell anything in the first place? No, of course he wouldn't. He would have enough. That's what reparations are for. Okay, and we pay reparations to people historically who have experienced historical harms. Yet the one group of people that come out and speak about reparations, the moment you start speaking about it, somebody's got smoke for you, right? The one group of people that actually deserved it and we didn't have no boots or bootstraps, right? So one of the major factors that affects young people in the black community today is the financial constraints to no fault of their own. The descendants of U.S. chattel slavery did not receive pay during the highest level of purchasing power in U.S. dollar history that the U.S. dollar possessed. So here's an excellent aid that puts the U.S. dollar purchasing power into perspective. We can see this is the visual capitalist data stream. A dollar's worth of purchasing power of the U.S. dollar. The purchasing power of the U.S. dollar has fallen sharply over the last century due to its rising inflation and money supply. So we have the Federal Reserve Act creates a central bank with the ability to manage the country's money supply. Okay, so U.S. president. So let's starting from left to right, we have the value of $1 U.S. dollar. Okay, and this chart goes all the way up to 2020. So the value was astronomical during the time, and we're talking about I'm guessing this is going to be about 1910 on this chart. This time frame right here. And again, another period in history where, of course, black people were starting to get, rights and things of that nature after Emancipation Proclamation was signed not that long, long ago during that time. And during the time where we could acquire wealth and assets and resources, there was still a massive amount of lynchings and social degradation and Jim Crow and everything that you can think of, right? That was being taken away. We were pushed out of the economy still, not paid very, very little, right, compared to others. I was reading about in From Here to Equality, it was speaking about how even in the military, There was the black military servicemen were paid about $10 a month, but then three of those dollars were taken away for clothing, right? So it was like a net of $7 per month, but it would their white counterparts would be $16. Plus they would get other benefits, right? So it was always, and they served. This is a group of men that served their country and fought for America with blood, okay, and that was how they were treated, So we went through this time period, and of course, 64 was when, of course, the Civil Rights Act, but notice the rest of the dollar's purchasing power really depleted after 1970, when Nixon took the U.S. dollar off the gold standard and ended the Bretton Woods Agreement. Okay, so this is when the dollar just flatlined, and now $1 buys a McDonald's coffee compared to around 1913. $1 bought you 30 Hershey chocolate bars, 10 rolls of toilet paper, 10 bottles of beer. Okay, in 1933, it was 10 bottles of beer. In 1929, it was 10 rolls of toilet paper. So you guys get the drift. Okay, and this of course affects all Americans, but it especially affected Black Americans because we didn't have equal footing at all. Okay, again, we were emancipated without bootstraps or boots or anything, without a leg up, hand up or anything. Okay, so bring that all back to today, and today's youth do not have the level of advancement the prior generations had due to policy set in 1971, when of course the gold standard ended. Again, if you have feelings of hopelessness, battling homelessness, income disparities, poverty, and a lack of financial foundation and cushion, you have the results we see today. Having solid finances plays a significant role in how one feels about one's future. Think about it. How you feel about your future. If you know that there's this great opportunities on the horizon, you're not going to want to, you may not even think of, you're so, it's kind of like a young child waiting for Christmas Day. You're so excited. You're like, you don't want to sleep, right? If you celebrate Christmas, you don't want to sleep, right? So these youth feel hopeless, plain and simple. And that's where, that's my premise. That's my argument. So Purdue wrote a short article which stated, as Purdue Today, the results indicated that finances are the number one cause of stress at 73%, being reported as a major cause of stress, often then politics, 59%, work, 49%, and family, 46%. Okay, but finances being one of the primary factors, right? So this money thing has a big control over our lives and impact on our futures. And the money changers, the powers that should not be and will not be, because they're going to destroy themselves. Okay. The following chart shows the real median household income by race, and this is the U.S. Census. Okay, so real median household income by race, and that's the Hispanic origin, from 1967 to 2022. Real median household income by race, and we can see that the disparities. Asians are doing great. You have white and not Hispanic. You have all races at about 74,000. Hispanic, any race, is about 62,000. The Black race is 52,000. This is supposed to be the average or median income. Okay. Of course, the disparities get even greater if you're looking at the top 1% or even the top 10% of income earners compared to everyone else. Now, income for a young man especially can change how you feel about yourself, how others view you, how you perform. In America, materialism, financial status, and what you have can affect the entire environment that you live in. Right? Social circles, peer pressure, and several factors can weigh on you along with pressure, according to Pew Research survey by Schaefer 2022. So again, I want to stop for a second before I get into this Pew Research survey. Again, if you look at the situation, So when it comes to pressure, I hear a lot of people, you know, some people talk about, how you got to just deal with it, and dealing with pressure and everything. And just again, we a lot of people speak from a term of generalization when it comes to different people. Some people can't handle certain things. Some people can. Some people are just built tougher. Some people can handle adversities. Some people can't. We're all very unique and very different. Some of us are highly sensitive. Some of us are not. But we have to understand each other and be okay with that person being how they are, as long as they're not, breaking the law. And then if we understand there's somebody who just needs words of encouragement, which some of us all need that word of encouragement, then what we would do is just speak power into that person instead of degrading them or making them feel less than. So according to a Pew Research survey by Schaefer 2022, 70% of Americans said young adults today have a more challenging time buying a home than their parents' generation did. Just imagine, you see a person graduate from college, 5 years pass by, and you see them acquire a home. That's inspiring for you if you're struggling, right? You may ask them for guidance or help, but youth today, they don't see that a lot. Even marriage is, not as common as in the times of past, because of one person working one job. Again, we go to the huge racial, not only the racial wealth gap, but the decrease in purchasing power. It's just a different environment. So having something to look forward to can play a significant role in your happiness, and without hope of home ownership, it is understandable how one can feel wrong about the future, right? You feel bad about it. Again, a system established around youth has molded many adverse and difficult outcomes that are no fault of their own. Again, no fault of their own. You see these racist, just read these racist comments in this video, and again, it'll really put things into perspective. As they tackle him down and hold his head down between his legs, just in a very painful way. So it just they just speak from ignorance. They don't speak from understanding and empathy. So if you look at the wealth comparison by race, wealth inequality is one of the ongoing issues that Black people face in all groups and ethnicities. Okay, and we highlighted this chart previously when I made this chart, and I have a link to the sources behind this chart. Okay, some of it is census data and Federal Reserve data. So economic outcomes are pivotal to understand the level of frustration that can build up in a young person's life in general. Financial troubles. Setbacks can be cushioned with a wealth base formed from previous generations. And unfortunately, the descendants of U.S. chattel slavery have never received their just due. You cannot outwork the wealth that was stolen. During the era when Black people worked for free, you can't do it. Okay, so don't be so hard on yourself, young Black woman and young Black man. Okay, that's my message for you today. It's out of your hands. You have to look at your environment and figure out what can you do legally that nobody can, nobody can stop your income, and then don't tell nobody. Like, shut up. It's just like, I'm gonna be blunt about it, because there's a lot of sabotage going on right now. So some youth turn to illegal activities to compensate for a lack of opportunities, which can tear down opportunities for them in the future if they are caught. One event can turn a young person's life into a tough uphill battle. So what are the solutions that can help our young people avoid these negative thoughts, right? Just think about all the ads you see on the internet. It's just trying to make, you're not making this much, dummy. You should be buying my stuff, right? So they kind of make people feel bad in general. And so addressing this crisis requires a multifaceted approach centered on community support, financial support, education, policy reform, right? Speaking power into each other, right? Uplifting one another. You can do it. Affirmations, they do help. Remember, the words that we come out of our body is semantics and vibration, right? So we want to keep that vibration positive and in a flowing state of abundance that you can accomplish. There's opportunities right now in gold and silver, and there's opportunities right now in cryptocurrency. I just like gold. Personally, I like gold and silver because it can retain its value and you can hold it as well, and it's been money for thousands of years. So community engagement, building robust support systems within communities can provide a safety net for vulnerable youth, right? It's very important to be community engaged, and of course, the parents need to speak power into their children. The parents need to keep two parents in the home for their children. Okay, you're able to lay down with someone else and bring life into this world. I'm quite sure you can find the love within your heart to cooperate and follow the lead of that man and get on his leadership program. Education and awareness. So initiatives to destigmatize mental health issues and educate families and communities are crucial. Policy and advocacy. Advocating for policy changes that ensure equitable access to mental health services is essential. A comprehensive reparations plan for specifically the descendants of chattel slavery is another thing that will also help. Okay, so I believe the layers of protection start in the home and creating a healthy economic environment around the youth will help. And this is why I advocate for reparations of descendants of enslaved people in my special report that I did previously in 2023. Through these efforts, we can create an economic environment and an environment where seeking help is encouraged and supported, and young Black youths feel valued and very much so understood. And that's another thing is, just knowing someone cares, right? You see somebody a little, walking around with their head down, just stop by and say, hey, I care about you. How can I help you? Just little words like anything, right? So moving forward, hope and action. So reversing this trend requires a commitment from all sectors of society. Personal stories. So sharing your success stories of overcoming mental health challenges can inspire hope and action. Access to resources. So ensuring that young people have access to mental health resources and culturally competent care is crucial. Community programs. So implementing community-based programs focusing on resilience, coping strategies, and mental wellness can make significant differences. And by fostering a cultural openness, support, and proactive mental health care, we can begin to dismantle these barriers that contribute to this crisis and cancer of society, of a cancerous society that's built around the youth, right? It degrades them and puts them in this place of hopelessness, that we can finally end this. So, in conclusion, the rise in suicide rates among Black youth is a stark reminder of the urgent need to collectively take action. By understanding the underlying causes, advocating for systemic change, and providing compassionate support, we can change the narrative and offer hope to those in need. Let this be a call to action. As I brought out in my reparations report, everyone needs to be taking actions. You don't got to tell everybody what you're doing, but you need to be taking action, right? And so this is the same thing with this incident, this topic right here, right? We need to take action and listen, right? A lot of people run their mouth. We need to listen to the youth. Then talk about solutions based upon that youth. Support and uplift the voices of Black youth as we strive for a future where every young person has the opportunity to thrive. The key is inspiring them and keeping their mind occupied with future hopes, goals, and tailor-made personal interests that keep their spirits high. About me again, I'm a mental health advocate, aspiring numerologist, lifelong student, aspiring computer science student, and writer who studies computer science. So there's my contact information. Just click this link. I have social media links Leave your comment. Let me know what solutions you guys have to this very important and growing issue as we head into the, what is this going to be, Q2 of 2024. I'll leave links to this article. This has been Reversing the Rise in Suicide Rates Amongst Black Youth. Thank you for listening. Stay blessed, stay up, and smile sometimes.